Hello, this is Nathan on Shuffle, and I've got a great album review for you that I wanted to feature today. And the album is called 520 by the band Nine Skies. This is a French progressive rock band that has a host of different influences from rock, pop, progressive, jazz, even some classical influences, I'd say, especially on this release. This is their third album. Their first album came out in 2017 called Return Home. Then they came out with Sweetheart Grips in 2019. And finally 520, which is coming out this month in June. So this is a great release that I had the privilege of getting for review. And I really fell in love with it. I really love this album a lot. I think it has a lot of great qualities to it that makes it stand out in the progressive rock field. So I highly recommend this one. I think it's really great. Basically, what struck me is it's very acoustic bass, a lot of acoustic guitar, a lot of piano, some string quartet. There is a little bit of like a saxophone in the mix on a couple tracks. There's some beautiful background, like female vocals, and just so much beauty. You know, there's so much sweetness throughout the music. This album is really great. It has like a haunting beauty to it that is really captivating to me. And the melodies, although beautiful to listen to, also have kind of a twisted, darker nature in certain points, which I think reflects the theme and feelings behind the album. So it really works well to me to kind of convey the feeling that the album gives. Going through kind of the lyrics, kind of my initial impression through my listens of the album is that it's about kind of this feeling of trying to grasp onto hope during kind of some difficult times, you know, going through struggle and strife and trying to find that little bit of hope to hold on to before totally losing it. Even a little bit of a feeling that there's kind of a lost love. You know, someone experienced a death of someone they love and they really long for that person, to be with that person, even though they can't. And so it's like the real life struggles in reality, and they're kind of dreaming and hoping towards a better future where maybe they could reunite with this lost person. So to me, that's a really important theme throughout the album, is this feeling of hope amidst this kind of brooding darkness and struggling to find that hope. You know, and that's why there's a lot of darker melodies and things throughout the album. But a sense of beauty is there's a little tinge of hope that you can grasp hold of if you find it. And so to me, that's kind of what the album meant to me. So I love the instrumentation of the album. I think that's one of its definite strengths. The acoustic elements, the kind of strings that swell through certain sections of the album, the piano. The vocalist has a very unique style. It kind of reminded me of like Matthew Parmenter, I think, of Discipline. You know, kind of an emotive, distinctive quality to the voice that's very operatic and theatrical, that really conveys this kind of feeling of despair and sadness in certain cases in the album. I really like the opener, Colorblind. It's beautiful acoustic guitars. Gives me kind of a feeling of like classic Genesis in that respect. I really love the blend of sounds. The ending, you know, there's kind of a saxophone that comes in that really gives an added element to the music. Kind of brings this almost Pink Floyd style quality to it as well. Wilderness, the second track, is another highlight of the album. There's some features on this album that are actually pretty interesting. And this one features Steve Hackett from Genesis, who's just a real classic player, and his sound can be felt on this through the guitars. Just a really beautiful kind of pastoral Genesis type sound to it, and more of that kind of haunting beauty that really permeates throughout the album. I really think this is a definite highlight of the album, and definitely a good one to check out if trying to sample and figure out if this album's for you. There's also some really beautiful instrumental interludes that kind of pepper throughout the album, with some acoustic guitar, with some piano. Really beautiful. Some of my favorite parts of the album. I really like Beauty of Decay, just a beautiful kind of Genesis-inspired acoustic guitar piece. Later on in the album, there's Dear Mind, which kind of interplays some acoustic guitar and some piano, and then a Christus later on towards the end of the album, which is a beautiful piano piece that just really leans into these classical influences I was I was mentioning that I feel are felt throughout the album. More things that I kind of want to highlight. Above the Tide is one of my favorite tracks. Some swelling strings, beautiful vocals. I love kind of the ending of it with the swell of violin and female background vocals, and it really brings this theme home, this great section. I just really love it. I think this is a highlight of the record that I recommend. Some beautiful playing acoustic guitar, and really has some great stuff going on in the mix. Porcelain Hill is another highlight, which features Damian Wilson on vocals. I think his voice is so incredible in this track and just really has that aching, kind of longing feel to it that I think is really excellent to accompany this track. Just a beautiful, majestic feel to it that just really has this hopefulness and sweetness to it that I think really balances out the album in an excellent way. And then finally, we end the album with Smiling Stars, which to me kind of brings together all these different elements from throughout the album and kind of puts it together into one piece. And it brings back a little bit of the saxophone at the end. It has that acoustic guitar that's been really an important feature throughout the album, and has some piano pieces that are really important as well. And it just brings all of that with the background vocals and the melodies, the twistedness, but the also beauty. And it kind of ends the album on a slight bit of a hopeful note in my mind. There's a little bit more of a positive vibe to this track than a lot of the others, but of course still with a little bit of that same kind of darkness and a little bit of kind of this note of, you know, there is a little bit of hope, but we still are steeped in a lot of reality that can be really tough to get through. But I think it's a beautiful track and really ends the album well. So overall, I just think this is really a beautiful album. I really love the instrumentation. It's a bit more acoustic. I just think it's really beautiful how the instrumentation is, and all of the elements on display really speak to me. I think there's a lot of interesting things here. It has this kind of majestic quality, but also, like I said, kind of a twisted, unique way of presenting the melodies that really interests me as a listener and kind of gives this an added element that's really interesting. So I really recommend this one for all lovers of progressive rock, especially kind of that old school kind of Genesis vibe. I really think they've done an amazing job here, and I highly recommend it. So I really think this is something to check out if you're interested, and I'm grateful that I was able to receive this and review it. So I thank the band, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. So thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you found something of interest here and that you'll go check out the album. I'll link to where you can find the album down below in the description. And if you like what I'm doing here, if you like these album reviews and the things I'm talking about, please subscribe, and please let me know in the comments of any recommendations you might have that are similar to this, or anything that you may have thought about for this band. I'd appreciate any feedback or any information. So thank you guys once again for watching and for all that you do on this channel. I know I'm just starting out here, but I appreciate the support, and I appreciate all of the comments that I've gotten so far. It's been a really great experience as I've been trying to start this up. So thanks again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review, and as I always say, enjoy the music.